The death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg pushed me to join the Satanic Temple. Those aren't my words. They're the words of a Huffington Post contributor. I'm Emily Jashinsky, culture editor at the Federalist. I'm here with my colleague Kylie Zempel, assistant editor at the Federalist, and we're going to break down this absolutely insane op-ed that HuffPost published right now. While you're here, make sure to subscribe so you can get daily content like this video, but let's jump right in. The death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg pushed me to join the Satanic Temple. That's the headline of a piece that was written by an attorney and a mother who submitted this piece to HuffPost and had it published. It's since gone kind of viral on the internet. Kylie thinks that this story is more serious than funny. I think it's more funny than serious. We're going to debate which take is the correct one. Kylie, start off by telling me why you think there's something very serious at work in this piece.
Okay, so I can see why you think the piece is just hilarious. It really is hilarious. The headline really grabs that, but...
Wait, let's read the lead.
Okay.
I am a 40-something attorney and mother who lives in a quiet neighborhood with a yard and a garage full of scooters and soccer balls. I often walk with my children to get ice cream and spend weekends hiking through a national park. I am not the type of person who would normally consider becoming a Satanist, but these are not normal times. Go on.
I also thought the piece was ridiculous after just having read the lead. So I kept reading, and one thing that really stuck out to me is that the author, Jamie Smith, who, as you said, is an attorney, goes through the tenets of Satanism. So of course, I go to the Satanic Temple website and I'm reading through the tenets.
Which, by the way, as the article notes, is different than the Church of Satan.
That's right. So the Satanic Temple, adherents to that, members of that, don't actually worship Satan. They're mostly atheists, and they talk about Satan as a symbol for rebellion, I guess, is what they think. So anyway, but I'm reading through these tenets, and one really stuck out to me, particularly because this author is a lawyer, and that's the second one. It says, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions.
Okay.
So you're an attorney that's talking about the non-importance of laws and institutions.
Okay,
and I think that's a pretty serious problem. What do you think, Emily?
Okay, you got me there. I didn't go to the website. I didn't do research. Well, I did some research, but apparently not adequate research. Okay, so that's a fair point. If the tenets of this organization believe that something should prevail over our laws and our institutions, absolutely valid. But why I think this article is more funny than serious, and I'm sort of dismayed to see that some people have taken it seriously on Twitter, like some conservatives have taken it seriously on Twitter and said, this is what the left is today. Well, this is not indicative of any broader trend on the left, except for the total like craziness of that movement under Donald Trump, right? Like, it's absolutely indicative of the trend where leftists are completely unhinged, and I say that on an intellectual level and an emotional level. I think this article is absolutely a reflection of that broader trend, but I don't think it's indicative of any broader trend of people joining what is the Satanic Temple. I don't think we have to worry about that. I don't think we have to worry about like these satanic institutions. Well, actually, that's pretty much every earthly institution. But these sort of like formal Satan-worshipping groups infiltrating the Democratic Party, or people in growing numbers like affiliating with them. So that's why I think I'm comfortable laughing at this and not crying over it. But Kylie, what is your rebuttal to that?
Yeah, so I mean, it is laughable, and I think a word I would use to describe it is self-serious. I mean, this piece is so self-serious that the lady, these are not normal times. I mean, most people on the left are not rushing to join Satanism in response to the death of a Supreme Court justice. So
when Justice Ginsburg died, I knew immediately that action was needed on a scale we have not seen before. Go on.
Yes. So it's really just hyperbolic. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But I do think that the arguments that she makes, there's serious arguments to be engaged with. So one thing that she argues in the piece is that that people from the Satanic Temple should be treated with the same level of religious liberty as Christians and Catholics and other religious sects. And so I think that's interesting because, if you take the tenets of the Satanic Temple as being justice is more important than laws, and you elevate those to the same First Amendment protections as organized religion, you do have some serious problems. And so while I think that most RBG lovers aren't rushing to join the Satanic Temple and maybe wouldn't have these tenets spelled out so explicitly, that's a problem.
All right, so you're convincing me slowly that you have the more correct take on this article than I do. So what I would add to that is that these like Satanic Temple douchebags have been filing stupid lawsuits to troll Christians for years, and this group has had some success at that. That's one thing this attorney claims that attracted her to the group. And so, but again, like that's something that's been going on for a really long time. They do get some legal success from time to time, and it's always just like being trolly to make Christians look dumb and to erase Christianity from American culture. That's not to say there aren't sometimes some like obvious, there aren't some obvious boundary crossings in the First Amendment. Sure, there are, but anytime that this group challenges them, it's just like douchiness,
right,
as far as I'm concerned.
And I think they've had a lot of failures actually too. I haven't read any recent cases, but I think in the past when I've looked into some of these lawsuits that the Satanic Temple has brought, I mean, they're pretty absurd on their face. So a lot of them do get thrown out, I do believe. One thing that really struck me, so later on in the piece, after talking, she talks a lot about this religious liberty component, and then she also spends a lot of time on women's rights, reproductive rights, the kind of world she wants for her daughters, yada, yada.
Also known as infanticide.
Also known as that, yes. So later on in the piece, she says, there is a real chance that the Supreme Court will be lost for a generation or more to justices appointed for their religious beliefs rather than a deep understanding of the Constitution or a desire for justice to be carried out on an impartial basis. So my question is, if justice is more important than law, then how does the Constitution fit into that? And what rights do you want the Supreme Court to protect if law doesn't matter? And she just spent half of her piece talking about wanting equal religious protections for adherents to the Satanic Temple, but she's worried about the Supreme Court being lost for a generation or more to justices appointed for their religious beliefs. So she wants to appoint justices that will uphold her religious beliefs, but not traditional religious beliefs.
Okay, so I love that you identified that sort of like disconnect in this argument, because it's totally true. And there's another disconnect in this argument where she talks about how most people that are members of the Satanic Temple aren't actually Satan worshipers. And then she says later in the article, almost immediately, I sought strength in the Satanic Temple's efforts to turn religious arguments on their head by pushing for religious liberty for their members on an equal basis with believers in the dominant Christian faiths. But there can be no equal basis between a religion that exists only to troll organized religion and is not organized around any religious principle, and actual religion that's organized around a sincere and genuine belief in God. And so this organization exists basically to hold Satan up as a symbol, as she mentions and as you mentioned, and to kind of like troll Christians. And again, like the First Amendment is an important cause. Absolutely agree with that. But she's saying that like nobody in this organization actually really treats it as a religion, but I'm just so inspired by the way that it, should be it pushes to be treated as a religion in the justice system.
Right, and just to take that one step farther, I mean, even if, it is organized around these tenets, when all of those tenets are about subjective things, then how do you even organize around them? If it's about this amorphous idea of justice and not really any laws. It talks about people's ability to reason. There's a couple of other words that they use throughout these seven things that they believe that are all just open to interpretation. So how do you even organize a religion that adheres to any kind of standard when it's really just up to every individual's standard?
Yeah, right. And I think another sort of like point in your corner of this argument, which I'm increasingly begrudgingly coming around to, is that this woman has children and is clearly so disturbed by the political atmosphere that she is publicly writing about being joining the Satanic Temple in this very bizarre op-ed, which by the way, I'm not going to make fun of HuffPost for publishing, because I think, this is something that outlets don't do is that, like, if an idea is too fringy, or if it's like too fringy to beltway people, they like don't realize that it's something that could be like gaining steam in the mainstream outside of like the coastal enclaves that they live in. They don't publish it, but like I want to know what the far left is thinking. Like I want to know, and I'm not saying this is like representative of a lot of people on the far left, but this woman is an attorney. She describes herself as a woman with soccer balls and scooters in her garage. Like presumably she's normal. So I want to know how like disturbed these people are getting over the course of the Trump administration. And so good for HuffPost for publishing this Satanic Temple soccer mom screed.
Yeah, right. Well, and it's funny because they probably would be more upset or have more outlandish thoughts about it because it's framed in this Satanism language. But once you actually read the substance of the piece, I mean, this really is what large parts of the left and the far left do believe. I mean, just kind of this subjective sense of a march for justice, whatever that might mean, and whatever might be torn down in the way.
Yeah, there's a moral relativism at the heart of a lot of this.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. So Kylie has convinced me that I'm wrong to merely laugh at this, but I do still think it's correct to say that we don't have to have another satanic panic, and that this is there aren't leftists in droves joining these like cults of Satan.
Yes, you're right on that.
Okay, well, that's a compromise, but Kylie, you performed well.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe. We'll be back with more.